Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
Get used to seeing this. Thunderstorms on Storm Tracker 4 and the ones that we're going to see tomorrow in multiple rounds look a lot stronger. We'll talk timing coming up.
By the end of next month, 400,000 of Michigan's vaccine doses are set to expire. Coming up, what the State Department of Health is doing to make sure that they don't have to throw away those vaccines.
Did Detroit police officers run from a crime committed right in front of them? Surprising video shows a man pull out a gun and start firing right before officers take off. Glad you're with us tonight for Local 4 News at 6. The department has now launched an investigation into what was captured on the officer's own dash cam.
Defender Sean Lay has been digging into this all day. And Sean, you're finding these officers could face some real consequences for this.
Absolutely. One officer right now already suspended, facing some discipline within the department. However, both officers involved in this could be potentially charged criminally outside of the department. The chief talking about this now after this video was made public. Detroit police officers are right there as a gunman hangs out of the back of a car and fires shots at a man hitting him. This is from their own in-car camera. In a shocking twist, it appears those officers just speed away instead of jumping into action.
This incident is troubling, and it is unfortunate, and it's not consistent with our training.
Chief James White forced to answer our questions about the officers' lack of action when this video came to light last night. But this took place back on June the 30th. We asked the gunman and people in the blue car, did police let them get away?
That's part of why we are very concerned. We should have had an opportunity to get them off the street.
Did those same officers come back to help the man who was shot?
They did. They did, in fact, circle back to help the man that was shot in the leg.
Did the officers even call the shooting in?
Yes. And I'm going to leave that there because we're getting into the meat of the investigation.
Shocking is an understatement. I think we all have the idea that the police are supposed to head towards danger as we all are running away from it.
Local 4 legal analyst Neil Rockine says not only can the officers face discipline within the department if wrongdoing is found, but they potentially could be charged with a misdemeanor for what we see here.
And for whatever reason, you ended up essentially abandoning your post. That can potentially be prosecuted as a misconduct in office type offense.
Back here live at the department, the chief says he immediately suspended when he became aware of this one of the officers. The other in that car is on medical leave. The chief says when that officer comes back, he wants to have a long talk with both officers to see what they were thinking when they took off at that moment. We're live downtown. Sean Lay, Local 4.
Disturbing on so many levels, Sean. We appreciate it.
We continue to follow breaking news. A shooting sparked by road rage on I-696 in Oak Park. State police say the driver of a tow truck was in the center lane when another driver pulled out a gun and fired. Now, the bullet did miss the tow truck driver's head. It went through the back window, though. It happened in the westbound lanes near Woodward. Tow truck driver says the shooter became angry that he was in his way. Shooter took off down westbound 696. Westbound lanes of 696 still shut down at Bermuda and Mohawk while police investigate. So thankfully, no one hurt in a very dangerous situation. We have seen some rain throughout the day across the area and more possible now.
Let's get over to Ben. He's tracking thunderstorms as we head into the weekend here, Ben.
Yeah, Kim and Devin, some of those could be coming tonight, but the stuff that you're looking at right now is starting to weaken as it works into some drier, more stable air here. Still may be some west zone showers, maybe down in the south zone here in the next few hours, but generally, most of us will spend the rest of tonight dry. I wish we could say that about tomorrow. We're tracking at least 3 rounds of thunderstorms, and one of those specifically could be on the severe side. The slight risk has now been increased from marginal that we were staring at yesterday, and that's pretty much the entire area. All of this threat is going to be on Saturday. Sunday looks a whole lot different with dry conditions, and 90 could be our 6th 90-degree day of the season. But there's a lot to discuss here with the timing and who gets what with these thunderstorms tomorrow. We'll take a look at that in just a few minutes. Guys?
Ben, it's a race against time with vaccines slowing statewide. Hundreds of thousands of vaccine doses are set to expire in Michigan over the next several weeks. Grant Herm's live with more on how they're going to try to make sure that all of that vaccine doesn't go to waste. Grant?
Well, Devin, they're trying to give them away to other states that need them. They're trying to work with places that are putting shots in people's arms to make sure they know how to store them properly. They're also trying to shift them to places where they don't have enough vaccine. But all of it is very startling because all of those are doses that aren't getting to where they need to go.
New data from the State Department of Health revealing hundreds of thousands of doses of the vaccine are set to expire in a month. According to a database used by the state, somewhere between 260,000 and 270,000 Johnson & Johnson doses, 106,000 to 114,000 doses of the Michigan-made Pfizer vaccine, and 8,000 to 22,000 Moderna doses are set to go bad in the next 4 weeks. Some of those doses are expected to be used by the end of August, the state vaccinating roughly 70,000 people each week, but that would still leave hundreds of thousands of doses unused. The number comes just a week after a deal allowing thousands of Michigan's unused vaccines to be given to Canadian neighbors just across the river fell through, many of them having to wait months for their first and second doses. According to a report, more than 13,000 Canadians signed up for a vaccine wait list to get American vaccines. In a statement, a Department of Health spokesperson saying MDHHS continues to provide educational materials to providers for managing inventory, adding we are working with CDC to try to redistribute vaccine to other states as well as large pharmacy chains within Michigan, as well as urge vaccine providers to share vaccine with higher throughput sites.
Since the vaccines rolled off the line, the states report about 150,000 wasted doses. That's things like expired vaccines or accidents like a dropped or broken vial. But still, it's all a sign of just how far the state's vaccination rate has slowed down when we need it the most. Back to you.
Boy, that is so right. All right, Grant.
Well, today we got another update on the coronavirus situation here in the state of Michigan. Over the past 3 days, the state added another 1,295 new cases. And sadly, we've lost another 21 lives. At last update, Michigan's vaccination rate was 62.9%. Meanwhile, Oakland County has become one of the first counties in Michigan to hit an important vaccine milestone. Executive Dave Coulter says 70% of people living in the county have gotten at least one dose. The county is turning its attention to getting more college students the shot. They'll be holding on-campus clinics for students who return later this summer.
Democratic State Rep Jewel Jones back in court today after violating his bond for a second time. Democrat faces several charges, including drunk driving in connection with a crash on I-96 in Livingston County. That was back in April. Jones was ordered to pay $1,000 today for not keeping up to date on his alcohol tether payments. By failing to do that, the company managing the tether shut it off last week. Last month, Jones pleaded guilty for violating his bond by traveling and not receiving court permission to do so. The Tokyo Olympic Games are officially underway. This morning's opening ceremony viewed by billions around the world, but because of COVID, of course, only 1,000 people or so actually got to see it in person.
That's right. Flag bearers Eddie Alvarez and Sue Bird led the U.S. in the Parade of Nations. There are 613 American Olympians. That's the second largest U.S. team in history. Tennis star Naomi Osaka lit the Olympic cauldron in her home country of Japan. It'll be an Olympics like no other, and one of the most obvious changes will be the lack of fans in the stands.
First time ever that spectators haven't been allowed. So what impact, though, will that have on the competition? Experts say it will be a disadvantage to some athletes, but it might actually help others.
What a lot of athletes underappreciate or undervalue just because they're so used to it is how much energy they get from the fans.
Sports psychologist Dr. Scott Goldman spent the past 3 years working with the Detroit Lions. He says being on the sidelines with no fans was very different.
It's just bizarre. Like, you could hear everything. You could hear your opponents. You could hear the other side. But I think the thing that was missed most was the energy of the stadium. With the massive Olympic venues sitting empty, players will have to find that energy elsewhere. U.S. Soccer's Alex Morgan says expect to hear more encouragement from teammates.
Yeah, honestly, we're going to have to rally each other, and you're going to hear the players on the bench. You're going to hear each other so much more clearly.
Yeah, Mason! The athletes will also be without their biggest fans, their families.
In some ways, not having them there could decrease stress and anxiety because they don't want to let their family members down. And others, it could increase discomfort because I think sometimes our loved ones can also serve as security blankets.
It's going to be a lonesome, very business-like trip.
Michigan gymnast Sam McCulloch says he will miss sharing the experience with his loved ones, but not having family there will eliminate some practical concerns.
If you're finding some silver linings, there's a little bit of that. Not having to worry if they're taken care of, if they're being treated the right ways, But, also once you're done and that it's all said and done, it is just something that's really nice to go explore the area with your family.
Gymnast Simone Biles summed up what has no doubt become the athlete's motto for these games.
We'll see how it is. We can't control the variables that we're given, so we're just focusing on what we can control.
Goldman says the situation will be most difficult for athletes who are more externally motivated by the fame and attention. Those who are more internally driven by their love for the sport are more likely to take it all in stride.
If you have a relationship with sport where you love it and you love doing it no matter what's around you, I think anything can happen. When you're somebody who goes, I really do this for the applause, I guess as Lady Gaga put it, I think they're the ones that are more susceptible to this being a different experience.
Different experience for all of us. NBC is going to great lengths to make sure we won't miss out on the athletes' families reacting to the big moments that they can't see live. So expect to see a lot of live reaction from the watch parties that'll be taking place all over the country. And those poor parents who have driven to a million practices and tournaments and games and all of that. I really feel for a lot of them who really want to be there.
Allison Schmidt is one of her parents. I talked to her. We're going to have that story coming up on Monday. Right. But they've been to every Olympics, every meet, and it's heartbreaking for her.
Absolutely right.
And emotional. So we'll have that coming up on Monday. And you can watch the opening ceremony again here on Local 4 tonight at 7. It's Jeopardy, followed by an encore presentation of the opening ceremony at 7:30. Local 4 News will air at midnight, followed by The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon.
We're staying up. You can too. Hope you'll join us then. Police need your help to try to catch a man they say has been targeting small businesses.
What they say he took in this video that may make it harder for a local company to help clients. Priya.